The Army just deleted its height and weight tables. 0.55 replaced them. Professor Sorensen studies how militaries write and rewrite physical standards, so he's at the desk for this one. And there's one rescission buried in this directive that quietly killed an exemption a lot of soldiers were counting on. Pin that.
This is Erica, and the document is Army Directive 2026-13, signed by the Secretary of the Army. The line everyone needs is one sentence long. The standard is a waist-to-height ratio of less than, and not equal to, 0.55.
Lewis here, we already ran this experiment. The tape test arrived because the weight tables were crude, and now the tape's gone the same way.
Erica, hold on. Gone how? Gone as in nobody tapes anybody anymore?
Gone as in discontinued. The directive says the use of height and weight screening tables is discontinued, and no secondary method, tape included, is authorized to challenge your ratio.
That last clause is the one I'd underline. Under the old system, you could argue your way out with a second measurement. Now the ratio is the finding. There's no appeal by tape.
Who does it catch?
Everyone. Regular Army, National Guard, Army Reserve, cadets at West Point and in ROTC, and every institutional course. Measured at least twice a calendar year.
So what does 0.55 actually mean on a tape measure?
It means your waist has to stay under 55% of your height. A soldier who's 70 inches tall is looking at a waist under 38.5 inches. Same ratio, different number for everybody in the formation.
And it's effective immediately, but it is not retroactive. Whatever happened under the old tape stays under the old tape.
The Army traded a lookup table for a tape and a calculator.
Simpler, not softer.
One thing before the next part, and then we move right on. If any of this is clicking, tap that like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for the next one. It takes a second, it costs nothing, and it helps more than you would think.
Every soldier watching wants the same thing right now. Where does the tape actually go?
The arithmetic is the easy half. You take your waist measurement, you divide it by your height, and you keep both in the same units. That's the ratio.
Which waist, though? Belt line, narrowest point, or navel? Those are three different numbers on the same body.
That's the right question, and it changes the answer. Army guidance puts the tape at the navel. I'd still confirm the exact point with your unit because the implementing guidance is still rolling out and the directive itself doesn't spell it out. Lewis, you've got the part that actually protects them.
Now the part that protects you, and almost nobody has read it. If your first measurement comes back over the line, that is not the finding. The directive says a confirmation measurement will be conducted on the same duty day by a team other than the one that took the initial set. And it says this must occur before any actions are taken by the commander. So a bad tape job, a cold morning, one nervous specialist with a measuring tape, none of that is allowed to end anywhere until a second team has put hands on it. I'd call that the second look, and it's a right, not a courtesy.
So if a commander flags someone off one measurement?
Then the commander moved before the directive lets them. The sequence isn't optional.
Ask for the second look by name. Paperwork respects people who know what it's called.
One more piece of timing. Commanders and supervisors have to allow a minimum of 7 days between your fitness test and your measurement, though they can deviate for urgent operational needs.
7 days. Why would the Army care about that gap?
Because a body that just ran a 2 mile is not the body you're trying to measure. Bloat, dehydration, swelling. Measure it Tuesday and you get a different soldier than Monday.
Everything so far is the machinery that protects you. What comes next is where soldiers actually lose things.
Professor Sorensen is back with us. So somebody tapes at 0.56. What happens Monday?
They're flagged and enrolled in the Army Body Composition Program.
Flag code K, and under this directive it does not transfer.
Meaning you can't outrun it with a PCS?
You can't. The Army amended the flag regulation to strip the transfer provisions.
It follows you to the next unit. That's new.
Then a medical exam. On active duty, the commander requests it.
Requests it to find what?
Whether something medical is causing the wait, before anybody treats it as a discipline problem.
And for the Guard and Reserve, same exam?
Not the same, they may request one. And if they're not on active duty, the directive says that exam is at the soldier's own.
Erica, stop there. That can't be right, it's the same standard.
Same standard, different bill. Quote, this exam is at the soldier's own expense for soldiers not on active duty.
Withdrawn. I hate it, but withdrawn.
It's the quiet cost of a one standard policy across 3 components.
And if a soldier misses the ratio by a week of bad timing, same machinery.
Same machinery. The directive draws no line for near misses.
One thing did get lighter. Monthly assessments and progression requirements are rescinded.
So no more standing on a scale every 30 days?
No. Commanders decide when to reassess, and you come off the program as soon as you meet the standard.
There's a second clock running underneath all of this. Pin that number and wait until you hear what it stops the Army from doing to you.
Professor Sorensen, thank you. The no appeal by tape point is the one people will need.
Glad to help.
Here's the rescission I promised you up top, and it's the one that's going to sting. No AFT score exempts a soldier from meeting the waist-to-height standard.
That exemption was real though. Max the test, skip the tape. People built training plans around it.
It was real. Army Directive 2025-17 created it, and this directive rescinds it by name.
Picture a staff sergeant who scored in the high 500s last cycle and hasn't been taped in a year because of it. She's now inside the same 90-day window as everyone else, and nothing she did on the test travels with her.
Okay, but that's the Army punishing fitness. A soldier who can carry a casualty.
Fenrir, stop there. The tape has never once asked what you can carry.
That one lands. I hate it. Continue.
Okay, so, if the exemption's gone and the window opened in July, hang on, let me count that out loud. July, August, September. That's everyone measured by early October.
2 more things quietly died, Erica. DA Form 5501 is rescinded, and the requirement to appoint an NCO to run the program is gone with it.
So who runs it?
The commander, directly. The directive says commanders are directly responsible for the oversight, quality control, and execution of the program in their unit. Your ratio goes on DA Form 5500 and into ATIS.
That's a real change. The program used to belong to a sergeant with a clipboard. Now it belongs to the person who signs your evaluation.
So that's what you lose when you're over the line. Now the part nobody expected, which is what the Army is not allowed to do to you yet. Because you're reading the clock wrong. Look.
Wrong how? A 90-day clock is a 90-day clock.
There are 2 clocks, and they do very different things. Let me lay them side by side. The first one is yours. Every soldier has to have a ratio completed and recorded in ATIS no later than 90 days from the date of the directive. Signed the 7th of July, so that lands in the first week of October.
And the second clock is the one holding a door shut.
That's the number I told you to hold. Units may initiate separation actions for a soldier flagged for failing the program, but no soldier will be separated until an 180-day assessment is completed by headquarters and further guidance goes out.
So the paperwork can start.
Fenrir, stop right there, that's my lane. The paperwork can start, and the ending cannot happen. That gap is the most useful thing in this whole directive. If you're flagged in August, the file moves, but the Army has told itself it will not finish the sentence until headquarters has looked at 6 months of data.
Which is a window, not a pardon. Use it.
Then here's the practical read. Don't wait for your unit to schedule you.
Get measured early, and ask for the second look if the first one is close, because that's still a right and it still has to happen the same duty day.
If you only keep one thing from today, keep this. 0.55 is now the only measurement that counts, and there's no second method to argue with it.
If this saved you a scramble in October, subscribing is what tells us to keep pulling directives apart the day they drop. Here's what I genuinely don't know. Does a single ratio, with no appeal and no second method, measure readiness better than the thing it replaced? Whatever your tape says, go find out before October does it for you. This is Fenrir, and I'm out.